Hi everyone, Stephen Votino with Century 21 Trauma Group. I'm here with Pamela Mundra, one of our relentless agents, and we're going to talk about Zap today and her success with Zap over the last 2 years. And just to throw that out there, Pamela, we just did some calculations, has done $85,000 in income in the last 2 years. That's actual income after commission splits and things off of leads that are coming in through the Zap platform and other things she's been able to do with that. So that's phenomenal. Really good. So we just want to talk for a few minutes, and hopefully Pamela can give us a couple tips on what she's doing to have that kind of success. So what are a couple of things that you're doing?
Well, I constantly work the Zap leads. I keep my leads updated. I look for creative ways to follow up and to get additional information. One thing that I did just yesterday was I was able to track down an email address and find out that I had 2 mutual contacts in Facebook for a Zap lead that I didn't have a phone number for. So there are other ways that you can follow up with your Zap leads in addition to just Zap. If you only have an email address, you may be able to go through Facebook and find out that you have mutual contacts and friend them on Facebook. And then when they see that you have mutual contacts, you can reach out to them that way as well. So in addition to Zap, there are other ways that you can contact with that person to try to get the business.
That's a really good tip. I think a lot of people assume just because we don't have a phone number, sometimes that it's a lost cause when you can, one, we might be able to get them through the email, through the Zap follow-up campaign and sending them an email, but it is possible to track down a phone number or find a connection. But Pamela does a very good job. You do a very good job of working the leads and trying. You do some creative things too. Can you talk about a couple other things you might do?
I had another situation too where I had a lead in Zap, and when I called the phone number, the person who answered told me that the individual no longer had that phone number. The phone number was a Cincinnati phone number. I had a second phone number that was a work phone number that was to the Children's Hospital in Cincinnati. I Googled the person's number and found out that this person was now working as an anesthesiologist in the neonatal unit at Duke. And when I found that out, I used that email address to send them an email and explained to them that I had a personal experience with my son at Duke. So I was able to share that personal experience with them, to reach out to them, hoping that they will reply to me because I could share a personal experience with them. And then when they would reply, I would be able to get additional information and potentially a phone number so that I could follow back up with them.
I think the key here is what she's saying is that not everything comes easy. There are online leads that we sometimes have to do some work to and get creative and find a way to get in touch with them. You know, a lot of times we're hoping that they're going to find us and get in touch with us via just sending them a quick email. And I can't tell you how many cold leads we have on our system that are going through because agents made one attempt at contact and didn't get a response, so they gave up. And I've always had a philosophy: if they're not in a coffin, they're not cold. So you should always be following up with them to make sure that you never know. Usually the cycle is about 18 months for a buyer. So if you give up right away, you've lost that chance on the downstream on the pipeline. So,
and I also prioritize the leads, and I may not be able to track down every single leads, but there are certain leads that I look at, and if I see that they're working in an attractive price range or in a real attractive area or area that I'm real familiar with, then to me that's a lead that I really want to try to track down because I know that there's a great potential that if I can make contact with this person, that I have the knowledge and the skills to be able to help them.
are you using the Zap follow-up plans at all as part of that?
Yes, I do. I do set them up on the follow-up plans, but even though the follow-up plans are there and they're going to be working in the background, I feel like my best success comes when I can make contact with them, if I can get a phone number and I can talk with them.
So that's really the key takeaway. The tip here is to make sure that you're trying your best to get a hold of them, and just don't rely on the Zap follow-up plans are great. Don't get me wrong, you should definitely use the Zap follow-up plans, but don't just rest on that alone. If you really want to be successful, like Pamela's been, I mean, that's something you need to do. You really got to work for it. And I think, is there anything else you'd like to share? Something else that works for you?
Well, I think immediately you set them on those follow-up plans, and as soon as a lead comes in, it's real easy to put them on the follow-up plan, but you may not be able to drop everything at that moment and do some of this other investigative work, but you set them on that follow-up plan and then have your time blocked to where you can go back and do some of these other investigative techniques to try to get the additional information that you need to follow up with them in a more personal way.
And that's another thing you do. I know you time block some of that activity because I see her on Zap a lot, and her pro score is usually very high. And I think in the past when we've talked, when you are busy, you'll find time. Like if you're in carpool line, you'll pull out your Zap app, and you'll do what you can then, so that you're not wasting any time, and you're making sure you're keeping up with your Zap contacts. And I know she's always very compliant, and she's always in the top 10 usually, if not top 5. With our Zap Pro score consistently, which is important if you're going to be successful at Zap. So,
and the app is very helpful.
Yeah, no, you can't beat it. So anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think
that's
that
great.
does it for
So
today.
I think the key takeaway is here is you need to work the leads. You need to find a way to contact them. You just can't rest on a Zap follow-up plan or a simple email. You got to keep reaching out to them.
And Zap can be helpful as far as setting up reminders for other leads you get. You don't have to use it just for your Zap leads that come in. You'll get leads for maybe a client that calls in on one of your listings. You can always put them in Zap and use them, use Zap to set up a reminder so that you can remember to follow back up with them. So you can use Zap for other leads, not just your Zap leads.
That's a good point. We have a lot of agents that do that and are very successful with it. And the other thing that a lot of agents don't think about, and I know we'll end with this, is that when you get a lead in and you convert that lead, and if you do a good job, that's a client for life, and hopefully a lot of referrals coming from that client. So it's not just that one lead and that potential one closing. It can lead to a lifetime of closings and referrals from that client. So it's very important. So I know you've had some success already in the last 2 years with referrals from clients off Zap. So, and that's enabling you to be successful. So,
absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank
and
you, Stephen.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.